Hello and happy Monday. It's me, Jessica, here with another episode of The Bookseller, your one and only true book review podcast show. It's just me, as always, your latest and greatest host of all book reviews, mostly fantasy. But sometimes we do dive into different genres. This week, I tried another mystery. For those of you that have been listening, I hate mysteries in the sense that they're predictable and kind of a letdown. But was this week any different? I tried a new book that just came out this month. Stay tuned and find out what it is. This show is all brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. All right, it's another week and another book. I actually did not read a book this week, but I listened to one, and I'm kind of curious, does Audible or reading an audiobook make a book better, or does it take away from it? Most of the time, I kind of want to have a book with me alongside of listening to a Audible book. When I'm driving in my car for multiple hours, which kind of has been my life lately with work, it is really convenient for me to be able to get a book done by listening to it while I'm in my car. But then when I'm not in my car, I decide, okay, I'm going to read while I'm home and only listen while I'm in my car. Well, this week was a little bit different. I just did not have the time to be able to get this for my library. It has a huge lineup, so it just was not possible. So I decided to just straight up do an audio book review. Now, with that said, mysteries. They have been a little bit difficult for me to love. I'm not going to say that the ones previously, like Woman in the Window, Gone Girl, Girl on the Train, etc., have been letdowns. It's just I can kind of see how the story is progressing and how the plot is moving along, and easily able to identify either the ending or how things are going to be put together, or who is the person at blame here. So if it's a whodunit, you find out, okay, I know who did it, I just don't know how they did it. And sometimes that's a really big letdown for me. I get really irritated because it almost feels like, the whole point of a mystery is for me to be like turning the pages, being like, I need to find out what is happening, what's the ending here, who did this, I need to solve this. And if I'm in the back of my mind able to solve it, it just kind of takes away from the element of surprise. So, I listened to an audiobook version of a mystery this week. And I will say, it was quite enjoyable for me. It was very engaging. I felt myself having to rewind sometimes to kind of understand or hear something again. Because, if you're listening to an audiobook and you're trying to do something while you're listening to it, it can kind of be distracting. So for me, I really tried to game while I was listening to my book, and that just kind of helped me stay focused. So this week, without further ado, it is a brand new book just released in the month of July. That's right, it's The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. So for those of you that have not heard of this book has flown under the radar, but is slowly picking up speed. This is a complete standalone mystery thriller. There is not going to be a sequel. There's no series. So we're stepping away from our normal fantasy genre, which always includes trilogies. Complete standalone. That means anything I say, I have to be very, very careful not to give you any spoilers. Especially with a mystery, don't you want that to be spoiler-free? All right, so normally the hardcover is actually about 370 pages long. For me, because I was just doing the audiobook, it was about, I want to say, over 30 hours of listening. That's because the person that was doing the reading really is using a lot of inflection on her voice with certain words, is kind of reading it off like as if you're there with her and she's talking to you. It was very engaging in that realm. I have read and listened to fantasy books before, and again, I just kind of get left. I mean, sometimes I just kind of zone out and I don't pay attention, where with the mystery, I felt so engaged. So about 30 hours, that's a long time, and I crammed that in about a 3-day period. So like I said, this is an adult mystery thriller. This was published July 3rd, 2018, so only a couple of weeks old, people. You need to get on this ASAP. Goodreads has a rating of 4.23, which is very high, and Amazon, why do I keep showing this? Who knows? Amazon gives a 4.5. There is over 100 ratings already on Amazon, so that is kind of impressive. It seems that this author has a following, as his first book, called Final Girls, was very, very successful. People got kind of hooked with his writing style, and so a lot of people had pre-ordered this next book. It's a standalone, but once you are invested in an author or you like the way that they write, you tend to follow what they write. I am a complete victim to that. Sometimes I don't even read the book. It's just a matter of me showing my support. All right, let's get into this description and we will talk about the plot, the characters, and the writing without giving anything away. Here we go. Get ready. This thing's creepy. 2 truths and a lie. The girls played it all the time in their tiny cabin at Camp Nightingale. Vivian, Natalie, Allison, and first-time camper Emma Davis, the youngest of the group. The games ended when Emma sleepily watched the others sneak out of the cabin in the dead of night. The last she or anyone saw of them was Vivian closing the cabin door behind her, hushing Emma with a finger pressed to her lips. Now, a rising star in the New York art scene, Emma turns her past into paintings. Massive canvases filled with dark leaves and gnarled branches that cover ghostly shapes in white dresses. The paintings catch the attention of Francesca Harris White, the socialite and wealthy owner of Camp Nightingale. When Francesca implores her to return to the newly reopened camp as a painting instructor, Emma sees an opportunity to find out what truly happened to her friends. Yet, it is immediately clear that all is not right at Camp Nightingale. Already haunted by memories from 15 years ago, Emma discovers a security camera pointed directly at her cabin, mounting mistrust from Francesca and, most disturbing of all, cryptic clues Vivian left behind about the camp's twisted origins. As she digs deeper, Emma finds herself sorting through lies from the past while facing threats from both man and nature in the present. And the closer she gets to the truth about Camp Nightingale, the more she realizes it may come at a deadly price. If that doesn't engage you, I'm going to give you 1 minute to simmer over it. Let's take a quick listen to all that we have here to offer at Eventide Entertainment.
Move over, Jimmy Kimmel. Step aside, Conan O'Brien. Back off, Stephen Colbert. It's my turn. I'm Mike Shea, and every Tuesday on my show, Mike Talks Funny, I sit down and talk with comedians, actors, film fans, podcasters, anybody willing to get down, get deep, and get dirty.
I don't remember the first time I had sex. That was horrible. I didn't even finish the first time I had sex.
I've tasted what most comics want, and now I have to go back and eat the leftovers.
You're so brave for wearing that shade of lipstick on stage. My God.
Think of Last Comic Standing, and Mystery Science Theater 3000 had a baby, and that's the show.
My online doppelganger is also a larger black man. He is Adrian Miller. All the top results are he's a professor.
Interviews with great people, not to mention all kinds of awesome new music every show.
Hey, this is Don Smith.
This is Scotty Mage.
Hey, this is Kevin Goatee with Comics Watching Comics.
Brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. Wednesdays on Eventide, Robert Yetter and Mike Shea sit down and throw albums at each other, talking about them, picking them apart, ripping them a new one. All different artists, all different genres, all different levels of suckage. It's Track Record, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide podcast feed. For more information, go to eventideent.com.
All right, we're back, and we're going to jump right into the plot and tell you exactly what I think. Okay, seriously, let's just tell you my thoughts and feelings in this moment. So I just finished this maybe a handful of hours ago, and my mind has been officially blown by a mystery. I cannot. I don't even know how to form thoughts into words to properly give you a review. So this might just be a lot of me rambling and kind of excitedly talking, but holy guacamole, guys, a mystery has officially brought me over to the dark side. Again, it might be just because I had listened to it as an audiobook, and so maybe it gave me a haunting and eerie kind of feeling when I was listening to it that kind of kept me engaged, but I loved this. So I do have little minor things that have bothered me, but overall, my initial thoughts and feelings are, holy crap, it's been done. I am officially so in love that I got to experience this. This was fantastic. Okay, serious time. Jessica, deep breath and focus. All right, so the plot is interesting. It's a little confusing in the sense that there's a lot of plot lines going on at once, but I'm going to try and break it down to be very simplistic for you so you kind of exactly know what's going on. Hopefully you got a little bit of that from the description because it does do a very good job at kind of leading you into the story. But I'm here to break it down just a little bit more simply for you. So basically this is like a roundabout kind of psychological thriller. It's not a murder mystery. It's more of like what happened, how did it happen, and kind of solving the mystery. So this story is about Emma, who is our main character, and it switches from present time, so when she's 28 years old and she's a painter, very famous, to back 15 years ago when she went to this summer camp, all-girls summer camp. So Emma is an artist. She's haunted by her past, as 15 years ago she was at camp and her roommates disappeared. She has never heard from them again. Nobody's ever heard from them again. It's just been this mystery of these 3 girls that vanished. Didn't leave a trace. There was just one sweater in the forest, and literally they have never been found. No clues, nothing. And it's been really distressing to Emma all these years. She kind of definitely has a lot of psychological trauma because of that. And if you think about it, her 3 friends, her 3 roommates, went missing when she was 13 years old. That would impact anyone at any age, let alone a developing teenager. So the story is kind of going back and forth between what was happening 15 years ago, what Emma was experiencing, her relationships with these girls, and then present day when she gets invited back to camp as a painting instructor. But she kind of decides, yes, I'll go because she wants closure. She wants to know what happened. She kind of wants to figure out the mystery and kind of put to rest all of her questions and her being haunted by Vivian, the closest girl that went missing. So, like I said, Emma is pretty out of sorts when she comes back to camp. She crosses, the gate of Camp Nightingale, and she never really quite recovers from that. She's always kind of out of balance, out of equilibrium, just kind of psychologically a little messy. She's actually assigned to the same cabin that she occupied during that summer 15 years ago. So that's kind of weird. I think that was the first thing. I was kind of like, why do you want to stay in the same cabin that all of this happened? I feel like that's going to bring in a lot of trauma, and maybe that's just me and my job thinking about that. Like, hell no would I wouldn't let a person suffering psychologically from this experience 15 years ago, would I recommend to her to return, let alone stay in the same cabin? That's just ridiculous. But if you get past all the ridiculousness, like her being invited back to camp, her staying in the same cabin, just all these kind of, I don't know what word else to say other than it fits too perfectly for it to seem real or realistic. Move past that. Don't get hung up on those little details, because I did at first, and it took me out of the story. Just kind of be like, you know what? That is so realistic. Yes, absolutely, that would happen in real life. Even if it didn't, guys, just pretend, okay? Reading is about pretending and imagination. So if you can move past that, she's staying in the same cabin that she did 15 years ago, and it's kind of the events that are happening present day are being reflected from when they happened 15 years ago. So you definitely see a lot of mirroring, and there's a lot of similarities between the two time differences. So it kind of almost plays with your mind a little bit, because sometimes, at least when I was listening, I almost was like, is this happening presently? Was this 15 years ago? Oh my gosh, this seems so similar, which is very eerie. So gradually, Emma starts having more flashbacks. We get more in-depth scenes with her 15 years ago, as well as her relationships with the three girls. She was closest with Vivian, and we kind of see their relationship, their bond, how they feel about each other, the kind of big sister, little sister relationship that they had, and really getting to know who Vivian is, as well as the other two girls, as characters, even though we don't know anything about their backstory or what happened to them. That is all kind of slowly unraveled. So with the plot, I will say that it is very, very slow in the beginning. Probably the first, if I had to estimate, probably the first half of the book is really slow. It just, a lot of detail, a lot of very slow unraveling. You're kind of given a lot of fluff, a lot of explanation, but the writing is very, very beautiful. I could, because I was listening, which I did think this helped me a lot, guys, I was able to completely vividly picture this summer camp. When we would have flashbacks, I would get a clear picture of then, and then when we brought back to present day, I was just totally immersed into this story. So something really cool is Emma as a narrator isn't really the most reliable, and that kind of reminds me a little bit of Woman in the Window. You are like, should I believe you? Are you a believable person? Are you telling me the truth? Are you holding back some kind of truth or a part of the story that you haven't told us because you're ashamed of it? Or in Woman in the Window, it was finding out her psychological issues, where up front with Emma, we find out about those, but we don't really know the full extent of what's going on with her, as well as her role into what happened with the disappearance. There's a piece that she kind of holds on to for a lot of the book. And when it's unraveled and like, hey, this is what Emma has been holding on to all along, you're kind of like, wow, I understand why you're impacted by that, but really, all of this build up for that? Lame. So, yeah, my foot's asleep. God, sitting on my floor. Eventually, I hope that I have kind of a more luxurious studio when I'm making these episodes for you guys, because right now I'm sitting on my floor in front of a microphone with a candle and a nice glass of wine. It is nice, but my feet cramp up and my legs, and it is very difficult. So something else that I noticed about the plot, because we are going back and forth between 15 years, present day, to now 15 years ago, it does seem to kind of repeat itself. It takes the characters a really long time to trudge through this information to, they get told something and it's like it doesn't fully impact them in their thoughts until much later when they're like, oh yeah, that thing about her dog dying. That doesn't happen. I'm just giving an example. That's super important. And why didn't I think about that when I was told in the first place? Kind of like important information is given to them and they're just kind of like, oh, no big deal. Not going to think about that for 100 pages. And then it's brought up to be a big plot point 100 pages later. Kind of frustrating. So with the characters, we find out a lot about the three girls, as well as a lot of the kind of random characters that are thrown in there that were both present in 15 years ago, as well as right now during the present camp experience. But overall, you kind of are looking at every single character as a suspect. No one is free and clear. They didn't have anything to do with this. You don't think that at all. Everybody is extremely, extremely unreliable. You can't trust any of the characters, not the main character. Everyone is a suspect. You're not sure who is responsible for the characters that went missing. There was a lot of characters in the book, which kind of helped with that, not being able to quickly narrow down what you think happened or who did it. It definitely gives you, oh, but this person, oh, that's weird. That's funny. Let me think about that for a minute. I will say that there was 2 characters from the beginning that I just kind of held on to, and I was like, I feel like you're going to have a bigger role than what is being played out right now. And I think that's also to do with the fact, and I've said this before, I feel like I know the general outline of a mystery novel. You are given all these characters. Certain ones are very much under the radar where you're like, oh, I don't need to think about them because they're not a big part of the story. Those characters that are not actually forefront in the story are usually the suspect ones. And I won't say that that's fully what happens in this story because the way this unravels completely blew my mind. But at least if I was to say there was 3 distinct parts to this ending, I figured out one part of the ending. I did not figure out the other 2. So yes, was there a little bit of spoilage in that part where when I finally got the clarity or that conclusion, I thought to myself, oh, yeah, in the back of my mind, I was thinking about that. Definitely that person was a suspect. Yes. But guys, this ending, the ending was crazy. I did not in any way, shape, or form think that was going to happen. Like I said, I would say that this was like a 3-part ending. I got the first part down, but then the second part was kind of like, oh God, okay, how do I explain this? 3 parts, right? The first part, you find out why this person did what they did. This is so misleading, and I don't think you're going to understand this at all, but I'm going to tell you anyway because it's on my brain. The second part, you kind of get a conclusion of what happened to the girls when they went missing, and it's kind of a letdown. You're like, oh, really? So this whole entire story, that's what happened? Okay, kind of a letdown. But the last 20 minutes of this audiobook, and I'm guessing the last 3 chapters of this book, something just explodes. The last 5 minutes that I listened to this, I just stopped. I had my headphones on. I just got out of the bath because I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to the last hour of this book in the bath, kind of wrap it up, relax, kind of find out the full ending of this. I get out of the bath, I'm patting myself dry, you find out some of the conclusion, you're like, okay, well, whatever, it was a good book, really well written, kind of a letdown how to end it, blah, 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 and everything's concluding. Everything's getting wrapped up into a nice package. Drying myself off, have my headphones on, I look at my phone, I'm like, okay, I got 10 minutes left. From there, I just stopped moving. I was listening so intently to what was being said, I completely couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then when it ended, it just ended, and I was completely in shock. I didn't move. I think I sat down in my dark room, just kind of processing and being like, holy crap, that was amazing. That was such a brilliant ending and something you do not see coming that, to me, made the book fucking fantastic. I loved the way that this ended. It felt like so much like you got a fake ending, and then you're kind of, the last couple chapters, you're like, all right, things are going to be wrapped up. This is just kind of, how books go. They got to wrap everything up in the ending, blah, blah, blah. And no. Something happens in the last few pages of this book that are going to make you go, holy crap, did that really just happen? brilliant. So brilliant. The writing is some of the best I have ever experienced in a mystery book. I'm not going to say ever because I have some fantasy book authors that I love and I will not betray them. But mystery-wise, Riley, I will read your stuff. That was so engaging. Yes, it was slow in the beginning and I get that, but wow. I am so damn impressed with how you led us down this path, not astray, okay? It just was something that you did not expect. Completely unpredictable. Maybe you'll be able to predict it, and honestly, I will pat you on the back and be like, you're awesome, you should write a book, because I guarantee you'll write something super engaging and enthralling. But I will say, this book, The Last Time I Lied, was the mystery book of the year. I will be shocked if this does not get a movie deal. I'm so in love. I almost want to buy this and read it and have the reading experience because, I mean, just how I felt listening to it those last 10 minutes, my mind felt like it was being blown. Afterwards, after I sat down and had my processing moment, I came downstairs and my boyfriend just looked at me. He's like, Are you okay? Do you need to talk about it? And I was just like, I don't even know how to formulate this into words right now. I just don't understand. And he's like, oh, did something happen to kind of, was it this person that ended up doing this? I was like, well, you see, yes and no. It's really complicated, John. I don't really know how to explain it to you right now. And he was just like, okay, what is wrong with my girlfriend? She's crazy. But yeah, I am smiling from ear to ear right now, guys. If you are looking for an adult mystery that is really good, I would recommend this to you. Now, I do have some friends that do kind of, when I say you need to pick this up, read it right now. Sometimes, everyone has different tastes. You may not like this, but from what I've seen with reviews, people overall liked it a lot. All thought the ending was crazy. The people that didn't like it, they didn't say, oh, it was a terrible book. They were all like, wow, this was really well written. It was just really slow for me and then didn't engage me. I get that. Totally understandable. Some people need different kind of engagement levels, especially right at the beginning. For me, I think an audiobook helped with that because, like I said, I was gaming while I was listening to it, so I didn't have to really dredge through sitting there reading. Halfway through, though, you were so enthralled. You need to know what happened to those girls. You want to know what happened to those girls. Hurry up, Emma. Figure it the F out is basically going to be your mindset. Overall, I am so very happy. Writing was fantastic. A great thriller, original premise. I would recommend this book as it is going to be the it book of the summer as well as the year. It is going to be the thriller that people are talking about. Woman in the Window and The Last Time I Lied are probably going to be the two main books people are going to talk about in this genre. If you were to pick one over the other, I say give it The Last Time I Lied a try. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. I gave this book pretty close to a 5-star rating. I am very impressed, super happy, and very grateful that I spent a very good Audible credit on this. Worth it. Worth it. I have this book now forever. Deep sigh. I'm so happy right now. I feel good. I'm going to go on with my life feeling great. Let me know what you thought. Find me on Goodreads. You can add me, message me, as well as recommend books to me, and let me know your thoughts about this book. That's it for this week. I don't know what I'm reading next week, so I don't know what to tell you. I need a day to just kind of be happy and gleeful about reading, finally, a great mystery thriller. With that said, I will see you guys next week, and happy reading.
Oprah's Book of the Month Club? Please. We've got something much better in store for you.
Let's talk. talk about books. The energy is right. I got a candle going. It feels good.
Every Monday morning, Jessica Gillen sits down and talks with you about the very best in books and literature.
Murder on the Orient Express, The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, The Cruel Prince.
It's The Bookseller, every Monday morning, brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.